Hello, my name is Ariel Borens, and I am a PhD student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm happy to be talking with you all today about my article titled Transcending Civic Disjunctures, Transnational Youth Organizing in a Community-Based Educational Space. The data analyzed in this article is drawn from a larger ethnographic study, my master's thesis titled Navigating Simultaneity, Immigrant and Refugee Youth Organizing, Race and Figuring the Transnational. First, I'll provide an overview of the research and article, and then I'll summarize the contributions to the field of anthropology of education. Since the 2016 US presidential election, immigration has become an even more politicized and divisive topic. Separations of migrant families at the US-Mexico border, increased arrests and removals by immigration and customs enforcement, and the Muslim travel ban raised questions of discrimination based on race, ethnicity, and religion. These US immigration policies have prompted immigrant and refugee youth to organize together for social change and to challenge deficit-based narratives. This study examines one such effort among youth to organize through collective action in community-based educational spaces. I do want to note that this term, community-based educational spaces, is a concept developed by Dr. Bianca Baldridge, and I quote, to center the agency and expertise of communities, decenter school, and reclaim education as a process that is not limited to schools, but can be enacted within communities and within community-based organizations. This is from her AERA article that came out in 2020. So drawing on 10 months of ethnographic research, including participant observation and interviews with members of the youth branch of a community-based grassroots organization, in this article, I argue that the community-based educational space in a large Midwestern city offers a unique space for urban immigrant and refugee youth to begin building transformative coalitions in ways that attend to civic disjuncture, which Beth Rubin calls the conflict between youth's daily realities and the democratic civic ideals espoused by schools, curricula, and staff, as well as competing messages students receive from schools, their communities, and national and global conflicts. By tracing how Latinx and immigrant Muslim refugee youth members of an immigrant youth organization engage in critical citizenship practices, which problematize and reconstruct democratic citizenship to address civic realities of exclusion and discrimination, as Joan DeJager explains, this paper contributes to scholarship in the field of anthropology of education that highlights transnational practices of being, belonging, and critical consciousness formation that often occurs in spaces of collective action. This qualitative study contributes to research on the nuances of immigrant and refugee youth's critical citizenship formation and coalition building in a community-based educational space by asking the following research questions. How are youth from diverse backgrounds drawn to organize together? What challenges do they face? What critical citizenship practices do transnational youth engage with in their efforts for collective action? I explore how Mexican, Mexican-American, and Muslim refugee youth who are members of Todos Juntos, the youth branch of a grassroots organization, named, navigated, and intervened in civic disjunctures. I highlight how youth recognize that by solely focusing on Latinx immigrant students' struggles, Todos Juntos perpetuated the civic disjuncture of other marginalized and minoritized students and responded by making Todos Juntos more inclusive. So now I just want to recognize some of the contributions of my study. My study traces how Latinx immigrant and Muslim refugee youth members of an immigrant youth organization were drawn together to organize in a community-based educational space and how they engaged in critical citizenship practices. My study also contributes to scholarship in the field of anthropology of education that highlights transnational practices of being, belonging, and critical consciousness formation that often occur in spaces of collective action. It compares the experiences of youth with different migratory histories, linguistic and religious backgrounds, and experiences with forms of racialization in the US instead of particular transnational populations. And the study also interrogates conceptions and the application of the concept of transnationalism broadly and the transnational social fields approach specifically. Future directions for research can consider different approaches, such as the comparative case studies approach that Bartlett and Vavris have highlighted. Also, scholars with more time and resources can look at multiple sites and how youth who organize together across sites are making sense of their transnational experiences of being and belonging. Thank you.